What's up, you guys? This is Devin from CenturyFX Studios, back with another video, and I'm just going to quickly go over some reasons why Canon doesn't have 4K available in most of their cameras. Let's start off by talking about Canon's history. Canon has had a history of the best multimedia camera. This multimedia camera will give you a big sensor, low noise, nice picture quality, good skin tones, all these other things that people love for. That's Canon's name, that's Canon's brand. This is what they do. And with the invention of the 5D Mark II, Canon had soared when it came to video because they were using it for higher class cinematic movies that you would see in the theaters. This small form camera, not even known to be a camcorder or a video camera, has blasted onto the scene with full frame 1080p at a cinematic, big sensor, low noise look that everybody wanted, that cinematographers craved. They came out with the 70 Mark I that also had the same kind of image quality except on a smaller sensor with a little bit more noise. If they were able to get it as a nice crash cam, they were able to do a lot with a small body, more lenses. You can use cinema lenses on these cameras. You could do a lot with these cameras that a lot of people didn't even think about at the time. So when these cameras came up on the scene, it was like, wow. So now, since videos are now part of DSLRs, people rely on it more for video. Now video is more mainstream. People want to see it on Instagram. People want to see it on Facebook. People want to see it in a lot of other different things. So we start to look at Canon. Canon, what you're going to come out with next? Canon, what's going to be next? They came out with dual pixel autofocus with the 70D, and it changed the world. With the T4i, it changed the world. That dual pixel autofocus was godly. You could tell it could focus on pretty much anything in a blink of an eye. It's within a reasonable margin of error. Like, it's not like it takes forever and it's hunting and it never catches focus on you like some of the other mirrorless cameras that we're competing with now. No, it does an awesome job with its dual pixel autofocus. But as the camera line started to go on and the 5D Mark III came out, it didn't come out with 4K. We was kind of expecting it, but we weren't really crushed that the 5D didn't have the Mark III didn't have 4K. We were just kind of crushed that it was kind of a lateral move. And we were like, why did Canon do this to us? Maybe we'll get better in the next 4 years. The next 4 years came through, and the 5D Mark IV, it had 4K. And we were like, yes, 5D Mark IV, 4K. But the codec was really hard to use because it had so much memory stored for that one coded video. And it was like, why is it double the size of a 4K file from a Panasonic GH4 or Panasonic GH5 or anything else, all these other competitors? So we were kind of upset that it came out with that kind of codec, and then not being able to use that code in our video programs, having to do an extra step just to get our videos to work from Canon, let alone the file size and the format and the card formats that it has on the 5D Mark IV, doesn't really help at all. So that was a big letdown with the 5D Mark IV, on top of the fact that it didn't really give you that many more megapixels. Even though it's a nice camera when it came to photos, you really didn't get a big jump in video, and people wanted to know that, hey, this camera did everything for me, and now it doesn't. And now coming to the 1DX Mark II and the 1DX Mark I, they both didn't support 4K, even though they were flagships. And even though the 1DC before, around the time or right around the time the 1DX came out, it had 4K and the 1DX didn't, people were still kind of upset. That ghoster camera, the 1DC, came out with 4K, and for another 4 years you didn't see 4K from any other camera in a nice price range from Canon. So people were double mad at that, and there was a whole bunch of reasons why people didn't like the 4K. But if you can shoot 4K and get it out of the 5D Mark IV, and you're used to a whole different workflow trying to get that out of the 5D Mark IV, and you're able to buy those super expensive cards, probably equaling up to a price of a good lens, then go ahead and do it. I mean, it still doesn't record seamlessly like a GH4 does, where you can keep recording and not having to worry about it stopping. There's a whole bunch of other reasons why 4K is just not good for Canon cameras. think about it this way. Canon has a lot of different cameras, not just DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, but they also have cinema cameras. And these cinema cameras are known to be some of the best cameras in the world as well, using them for, what was it, Need for Speed and all these other box office hits and stuff like that. Now, I don't know if Need for Speed was a box office hit, but it was definitely a highbrow movie that you had to go to the movies to see. And the C500 and I believe the C700 was filming that camera, was the camera that filmed it. So these are the cinema cameras from Canon. Again, some of them have 4K, some of them don't. So maybe if they fill out the line in 4K for the cinema cameras, we'll start to see it in the 90D and the 100D that's supposed to come out soon, and all the successors that are good for video for Canon, because this is really hard for us to accept as Canon users for not have 4K. Now we're getting Metable and Speed Booster and basically bringing out the sensors from the smaller cameras that are mirrorless so we can use our Canon lenses in it. And it really is frustrating. But these are some of the reasons why Canon doesn't have 4K. Their cinema line, the history of Canon in general, and their memory, and I think they're just handicapping us on purpose. So this is some of my thoughts, guys, but Happy New Year. Hope you have a great 2018.